So I'll cut to the chase. I am getting a divorce, and I'm turning 40 in about a month. A lot of life changes happening right now. Changes that have been really, really scary for me. We have kind of been going through a slow divorce for about 5 years. It's been exactly as hard as you would expect it to be, but also it's actually a good thing. I know that divorce is almost all in my culture anyway, it's seen as a failure. It's seen as a negative thing. It's seen as a falling apart, the destruction of the family, tearing family apart, all those things. Very negative. But the truth is that in my case, it is very positive. It is something that we've both known for a long time is eventually going to happen, and we have been afraid of the time. We've been procrastinating it, and we've been to therapy a bunch of times, which is phenomenal, which helped a lot. Both of us have matured and become much better versions of ourselves through this marriage. We're both wonderful people. There's no scandal. There's no reason that, this is an amicable divorce. So, major shift in my life. For me to say that I'm scared is like the understatement of the century. I feel like I'm in a bit of a free fall into total darkness, not knowing what's next. There's been a lot of spiritual help, thankfully, intervention, and guidance for me personally. Interestingly enough, coming from my deceased grandfather. His name is Keith Garn, my grandfather on my father's side. He has kind of shown up in dreams and downloads and promptings, and there's been a lot of guidance from him. And he's talked to me a lot about what I should do with my career, with money, what direction I should go. And the latest time that he talked to me about, he showed up in a dream and he said, okay, let's look at the last 15 years of your life. Let's look at your adult life. How many jobs have you had? What industries have you worked in? And it was a lot of laughter. We talked back and forth. I've been a cameraman for Channel 5 News. I've worked with abused children of drug-addicted parents. I've run scout camps. I've been a professional scouter. I have owned 7 different businesses. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked as a wedding videographer, freelance. I went to school for many different things. Changed my major about 20 times. I've worked in so many industries, wilderness survival. I've been a Mormon missionary. I'm no longer a Mormon. I left the LDS church, which was another gigantic transition that happened in the recent past couple of years. And then we talked about Utah Sasquatch. And this is something that he brought up to me. He said, what of all the times that you've made money, of all the times that you have pursued, tried to start anything or whatever, when were you in a flow state? When were you using your gifts and talents? When did you find the most sincere community? And when he would ask these questions and we would comb through all the jobs and the different careers I've had, it was obvious that it was Utah Sasquatch kept coming up. And he showed me a couple different times in my life when I have discovered new talents that I didn't know that I had. When I was 16 years old, going to teach my first merit badge class in the woods the next morning. Tossed and turned all night. Kept having nightmares of scoutmasters yelling at me and me being in front of the class not knowing what to say and just being humiliated. I was horrified to teach this merit badge class. The next day, 30 different 12 to 14-year-old boys, 12 to 16-year-old boys filed in. 30. I'm 16 years old. These boys are barely younger than me. They're rambunctious. They're in the woods. They have their pocket knives out. Some of them have lighters. They're burning things. They're all talking. And how am I going to control this fucking horde of young men? But you know what? You know what happened? I had those boys' attention. I had them laughing. I had them up on their feet. I had them tying knots. I was teaching them about different animals, wilderness survival. I was screaming. I was being crazy. We were running. I would say, run up the trail. It just came from me. It was like flowing. And it turns out that I'm an amazing teacher. It turns out that I had no idea that I could teach boys like this. I had no idea that I would be good at it. And my grandpa showed me this and he said, when else did that happen? And again, we looked at Utah Sasquatch, which the whole time that I had Utah Sasquatch as a YouTube channel, I just devalued it in my mind. I thought, oh, well, I'm goofing off in the woods. I'm escaping responsibility. I'm fucking around. I didn't look at it as anything more than that. I didn't look at it as sharing my passion, sharing my gifts, my talents, sharing a flow state. I didn't look at it as any of those things, but the truth is, that's what it was. I love to talk about weird, paranormal, cryptic stuff. I love to talk about philosophy and spirituality. I love to experience paranormal things. And this is just an authentic thing that I like to do. And I never really thought about truly trying to do it professionally or anything. And when people would offer me money in the Bigfoot community, I was scared of being a grifter, so I usually would turn it down. I did over 300 expeditions, taking people out into the woods for free. Ask anybody that I've ever taken out, ask them if I've charged them money. I was so scared of being labeled a grifter that I ended up just bankrupting myself, trying to blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I did Patreon in the end, and I felt guilty about that too, because I felt like, oh no, like, what if it's like they say, what if the money is corrupting and blah, blah, blah. But my grandpa said to me, he said, that money that you made, sharing your gifts and your talents, doing what you thought was a waste, was goofing off. He said, that's the most honest money you've ever made. And that's how money should be made. In a state of flow, sharing, effortless, sharing your gifts and your passions. Play, sharing your play. I had never thought about Utah Sasquatch like that before. For him to visit me in my dream and explain these things to me, it was paradigm shifting. And so for the next couple of years, for the time being, I'm going, especially as I go through this divorce, I'm going to shift all of my energy into kind of jumping back into Utah Sasquatch. And it's not only going to be Sasquatch, it's going to be all paranormal things. And it's also going to be a lot of other topics like spirituality, philosophy, deconstruction, a lot of that stuff. I'm going to try and show up for you guys. I'm not going to do it for you guys, by the way. I'm doing it for me. I'm sharing these things because it's therapeutic for me to share these things. And it's healthy for me to share these things. And I need to create a little space of authenticity where I can just operate and be myself. And if that's in the woods looking for a fucking Sasquatch, then that's what it's gonna be. I want to be as close as I can to a flow state. And I want to share my talents and my gifts with people. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try and this is going to be my attempt to do primary income. Is going to be Patreon. And so please, guys, if you've ever supported me, please hop over to Patreon. Give me a couple bucks every month. And I will try and dedicate as much of my energy as I can, all of my energy. I'm going to pour it into this channel. Another beautiful thing that happened with Utah Sasquatch was there was a lot of hate and stuff, but like there was so much beautiful community. It was one of the only times in my whole life that I've had really wonderful, authentic community. And to this day, the best friends that I've ever had came from my Bigfoot channel on YouTube. And that's really what I need right now, especially as I go through this really tough transition. I need community. So yeah, this is going to be an authentic space. We're going to talk about a lot of shit, but we're also going to go Sasquatching and do other paranormal things because I want to do them. That's why we're going to do that. Okay, guys, bye-bye.